Good evening. I just wanted to get on here for a little bit and talk about criminal thinking errors, which a lot of times individuals don't realize that they have. My name is 12 Gauge, and please understand everything that is spoken in this live or this stream is based on my opinion and it's based on my thoughts and theories and should not be debated by anybody else based on the fact that it is my thoughts, my theories, and my professional understanding of how things work. If for some reason that I am presenting this material wrong or forget to add things or whatever, please be kind and not critique so badly. All I'm doing is presenting this for educational purposes. Okay, I'd like to begin about to discuss criminal thinking errors. They call these criminal thinking errors because most of the time criminals have these thinking errors that they believe they don't have that keep them creating the insanity, which is their lives of getting out of jail, living in society for a while, and then reoffending. There's a difference in people's thinking whenever they're criminal minded. A criminal minded individual is one that views their life as there's something missing, and the only way that they can accomplish their existence in this life is to get what they need out of the world. The first one is called closed channel thinking. This is not receptive to criticism, it's not receptive to any kind of feedback or any kind of redirection. They're not self critical about themselves. They view themselves as there's nothing wrong with me. They could be stealing to support a financial habit. They could be cheating on their spouses. They could be sneaking off at break time and smoking weed. But they view themselves as there's nothing wrong with me, not self critical. There's no disclosure. Have you ever met an individual? And let's get this straight, okay? I call them criminal thinking errors because this was the name that was given to these thinking errors. But there could be individuals that have been affected by criminal minded people, thus have picked up some of these traits. It's kind of like living with a drug addict for a lot of years and picking up their mannerisms, their habits, their unhealthy thinking. So even though I'm calling them criminal thinking errors, you could know individuals that have these kind of traits and not even realize that it's unhealthy for them, even though they continue to face negative consequences due to them. There's no disclosure. This is meaning that you ask somebody a question, they give you the most basic answer, or they don't answer at all. They just deflect the question and they refuse to give any kind of disclosure. Well, I'm no snitch. I'm not going to talk about that. Why do you want to know that? Um, what the importance of that? And kind of starting a big deal because there's no disclosure. Good at pointing out, giving feedback on faults of others. They're quick to blame people, quick to say, well, you know what? I might smoke weed sometimes, but you drink every night, so therefore you're not any better than me, which, two wrongs don't make a right. They're quick to call out the faults of others, meaning that, they're quick to just project their negativity on other people. And the last one says lying by omission. I always ask my clients what's the difference between being honest and telling the truth. And there is a difference. And it goes with this one, lying by omission. To be honest, you're transparent. You're able to disclose everything without hesitation, without deciphering whether somebody's trying to set you up. None of that. You're very vulnerable to the question. You're able to honestly answer it thoroughly. Kind of like the one before, it says not no disclosure. An individual that is not being honest has no disclosure whatsoever. They're very closed off, closed minded. Okay, so that's honesty. Lying would be, or telling the truth would be, I'm only going to tell you enough to keep me out of trouble or facing consequences. So you may have snuck out last night and you may have stolen a car, gotten drunk, crashed a car, made it home early in the morning, and you're asked, hey, did you sneak out last night? Did you get into some kind of trouble because you're all beat up? Your answer could be, yeah, I went out for a little bit to smoke a cigarette, but that was it. I don't know why I'm so beat up. I woke up like this. That is lying by omission because they did admit going out, but they didn't give any of the rest of the story. I hope that makes sense. The second one I want to talk about is victim stance. This is viewing themselves as the victim. The criminal will even blame social conditions. They view themselves as the victim, meaning that the world is out to get me. I can't ever get anything good. I can't ever keep anything good. Um, I wish I was like you who had it all together. And anytime that you call anybody out on any of these things, they're quick to kind of shut down. They fail to acknowledge their destructive behavior. It's kind of like the individual who breaks into cars and steals radios or, steals cars or whatever. You arrest them and they fail to identify that stealing a car is a big deal. They focus on the fact that if they didn't want me to steal that, they wouldn't have been advertising the loud stereo, so that's why I stole it. They fail to identify that their behavior is destructive in so many ways, and they do have a victim that they're victimizing, and the victim is not themselves. They build themselves up to at others' expenses. If I'm viewing myself as a victim, then I'm viewing myself as less than you, but I'm going to build myself at your expense, meaning that you could be working hard and I could be working with you, but I catch you doing something, so therefore I run and tell it. Therefore, the boss looks at me as a trustworthy person, even though I don't work. I show up to work late. I, I lie, steal while I'm at work. I stealing time, lying about what I'm doing. But yet, the first chance I get, I'm going to throw you under the bus so that I can build myself up at your expense. And this kind of leads into the next one. They all coincide together, as you can probably tell. Views self as a good person. They focus only on their positive attributes. You can call somebody out and say, "Look, you've missed work 4 days in a row. What's going on? If we've had this conversation before. I'm gonna have to fire you. But I'm the best worker you have. When I am here, I work hard enough for two people's job." Or, You said just the other day that I was your best worker and you would never get rid of me. Victim, victim, victim. Failure to even see anything wrong with their behavior. Fail to acknowledge no destructive behavior, meaning that you're drinking or drugging, but drinking and driving is not a big deal because you haven't hit anybody yet. Or I can smoke weed and drive, and it's not a big deal because I've never heard of anybody crashing or killing somebody while smoking weed. They build themselves up at others' expenses. Like I said, another time, I'm going to victimize myself by building myself up at your expense. Therefore, I'm going to get higher in my mind and devalue you so that I can feel powerful in control. Lack of effort, unwilling to do anything that they find boring or disagreeable. Hey, so and so, I need you to go shovel the back parking lot because the snow is very deep and I don't want anybody to fall back there. Why do I got to do it? Why can't so and so do it? You know, you always have me doing the worst jobs. You ever heard this? And it goes on and on and on. If you ever hear somebody saying, I can't, I can't, I can't, in their mind, this translates to, I won't. I'm not going to do this. I won't. I won't do it. Well, come on, it's good for you. No, I'm not going to do it. I can't. That's too hard. Or look at all that I've done up to this point. You just keep adding things to me. I can't do all that you asked me to do. That's telling you that they're not going to or they don't want to. Lack of interest in responsible performance. This is responsible living is unexciting and unsatisfying. This basically means that getting up, going to work, paying your bills, keeping insurance on your car, keeping your driver's license caught up, keeping your car inspected, keeping food in the house, paying the bills so that you have heat and a place to stay, and not blowing your money on sex, drugs, and rock and roll, all those things, which are more exciting than living a responsible life. So, um, these types of individuals view responsible living as unexciting and unsatisfying. There's no sense of obligation to anybody. I could hire an individual like this and they've built themselves up, viewed themselves as a good person, told me all the positive traits they have, all how long they've been doing this for a job, this, that, and the other. And the first time they see something or do something on the job that they find as a threat, well, guess what they do? They walk right off the job with no obligation to me or anybody else. Will respond only if he nets an immediate payoff. This basically means I'm only going to do it if it's beneficial to me. If it's not beneficial to me, then I'm not going to do it. If it's not something that I can benefit from immediately, then I don't want to do it. Let's talk about lack of time perspective. This basically means does not use the past as a learning tool. Instead of reflecting on your past as a learning tool, meaning that you look at the ways that you have hurt yourself by the poor choices that you've made, instead of looking at those as learning tools, you refuse to look at them at all. It's almost like I've learned I'm not that same person, but yet I'm still doing the same stuff. I'm still getting the same result. They expect others to act immediately on their demands and their decisions on assumptions, not facts. The other day when you asked me, this is an example question, The other day when you asked me, had I ever been locked up or known anybody that's been locked up, were you trying to say something? Were you trying to throw shade my way? Were you trying to say that you know that I've been locked up? Or you assuming that I've been locked up? You see how that goes? It's like you're just instantly untrusting. And you start turning the script on the other person who just asking for facts, not assumptions, or your decision to base assumptions on what they're saying. Fear. This is an irrational fear, which they have many, but refuse to admit them. I've asked my clients so many times, hey, what are you fearful of? Nothing. Nothing. You're not even fearful of dying? No, not fearful of anything. Just live this the best I can. The fundamental fear of injury or death. If you get somebody that's been out of jail or out of prison for a while and they've lost family members and they've lost friends to death, then all of a sudden they do turn their mindset into fearing injury or death because you've taken away their drugs, you've taken away their criminal behaviors, you've taken away everything, and they can't have fun anymore. So they're walking around with no protection whatsoever. Their Superman cloak, if you will. Profound fear of put down. These are the individuals that can sit there and put you down and call you names and joke. But the moment that you get upset or you set your boundary and say, hey, man, I don't want you to do that anymore. I don't want you to call me that. I don't want you to act that way toward me. And you start turning it on them, especially if they're in a crowd of people. I used to have this happen in groups where somebody would be clowning in the group, and then obviously I wouldn't put them down, but I'd turn it around on them where everybody started laughing and they'd get angry. Because before it was funny while they were doing it, but when somebody else had the capacity to turn it around and make it on them, fear. Well, what if people think now that I'm the teacher's punching bag or whatever? When they're held accountable, they experience zero state. They feel worthless, just what I just said. When you're held accountable and you're a bully, most of them go to zero state and victimize themselves and just totally shut down and self destruct in their head. Here's a good one: power thrusters. These individuals compelled need to be in control of every situation. They use manipulation and deceit, and they refuse to be dependent unless they can take advantage of their situation. Refusal to be dependent, meaning that, no, I don't need help, I got this. But they're struggling, they're drowning. I don't need help, I'm good. Well, they use manipulation and deceit so that you don't know that they're really having a hard time until it's too late, until they're crashing and burning. Or they're just trying to control their significant other by threats, by domestic violence, by situations such as that, yelling, screaming, put downs, just power thrusting, just trying to expel their will, so to speak, on another person to feel powerful. Uniqueness. Don't you know that many criminals and drug addicts and alcoholics and individuals that have issues are unique? Well, you could say yes, but this is a different kind of uniqueness. This is a narcissistic sociopath uniqueness. This is, I'm different than others. I don't know why you treat me like you're treating so and so. I'm not like them. See, I'm clean cut. They're dressed in rags. How can you hold me to the same fire that you're holding them? I have 4 college degrees. I could be doing your job. They expect of others that which they fail to meet. They could tell you how smart they are. They can tell you how they used to do this and that and this and that, but they fail to meet the most basic expectations that many people place on them. Let me give you an example: failure to report, failure to stay clean while on probation or parole, failure to complete their individual sessions, failure to not be around high risk people, failure to pay their fees. All these things, because they're unique, they have super optimism. They cut fear of failure, meaning that I'm super optimistic, meaning that, you know what, before I didn't believe in God, now I believe in God, and God has everything that I need, and I'm going to be okay. Well, there's nothing wrong with being optimistic, but super optimism means that you could be drowning. Or let me give you a better example. Here we go. Super optimism. I commit a crime. They lock me up. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to get locked up. I'll be out in a couple of hours. Well, I'm in there until the trial, 6 months or longer. The whole time you're hearing me say, "Hey, I'm going to get probation on this. Don't worry about it. I'm going to be good, man. I'm straight." Then I get to trial. They give me 10 years. Well, I'll be out in 3. You know, I've done enough time and this and that and the other. The whole time, just trying to talk themselves up from facing the consequence at hand and humbling themselves to admit that they've done wrong. They quit at the first sign of failure. Have you ever met a person that has tried something they've never done before and they expect themselves to be perfect at it the first time they try it? Well, these individuals, they don't like criticism, so therefore their fear of failure means that if I don't do this perfect the first time, then I'm going to quit at it. I'm going to go find something that I know that I can do perfect. And ask yourself, what is wrong with these thinking errors that I'm describing, these examples that I'm giving you? Ownership attitude. They perceive all things, people, objects, to possess. That means that's my girlfriend, that's my dog, that's my car, that's my clothes, that's my TV, that's my gaming system. It's all mine. So, don't even try to mess with it. Ownership. No concept of ownership or the rights of others. In their world, you don't have any rights. The only rights you have are what I tell you can do or not do. Sex for power and control, not intimacy. Well, I'm going to have sex with you to show you that you're really not in control as much as you think you are. And the feeling that, or the thought that you might believe you were in control, you got another thing coming. These thinking errors are really problematic. And like I said, they call them criminal thinking errors, but there's a lot of individuals that aren't criminals, but have been around criminal minded people. Maybe they were raised by criminal minded people or decades of criminal minded people. So now they believe that this is the way to live life. All cops are bad. The justice system is just a setup to get innocent people locked up. You can't trust anything anybody says. I don't trust anybody. I only trust myself. Those are examples that these type of individuals say to themselves and other people. And it doesn't matter how much you try to convince somebody that you're trustworthy or that you can build rapport with them. They just don't they just don't believe it because they've been programmed for so long with these thinking errors that it's hard for them to let go. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Give me a like, thumbs up, subscribe, because I talk about a lot of different things, and I know I talk about criminals and things like that, but that's what I know. Why am I going to talk about cooking or how to crochet? Because I don't know that stuff. So, hope that you enjoyed what I just presented. And once again, click, click, boom from the 12 gauge. However cheesy that is.